In the early hours of New Year's Day 1886, in a rented room in Pimlico, London, a woman named Adelaide Bartlett woke her landlord with 4 words. "Come down, he is dead." Her husband, Thomas Edwin Bartlett, was found face down in his bed. The post-mortem revealed a fatal quantity of liquid chloroform in his stomach. There was no trace of it anywhere in his mouth, his throat, or his windpipe. No burns, no damage, no explanation. The chloroform was inside him, and science could not explain how it got there. That question has never been answered. This is one of the most disturbing true crime stories in Victorian history, and unlike every other case Dark Verdict has covered, nobody was ever convicted of anything. This is the Pimlico poisoning mystery, and it begins not with murder, but with a marriage that Victorian England could not comprehend. Adelaide Blanche de la Tremoille was born in Orleans, France in 1855. She was reportedly the daughter of an English gentleman of high standing, the circumstances of her birth deliberately obscure. She was educated privately, cultured, sophisticated, and in 1875, at the age of 19, she married Thomas Edwin Bartlett, a wealthy English grocer 11 years her senior. From the very beginning, the marriage was unconventional in ways that Victorian society found deeply disturbing. Edwin held unusual beliefs. He spoke openly of wanting 2 wives, one for intellectual companionship and one for domestic purposes. He and Adelaide reportedly lived as a platonic couple for most of their marriage. When Adelaide's only pregnancy ended in a stillbirth, Edwin had refused to allow a doctor to attend the labor. That detail alone tells you the kind of marriage this was. In 1885, Edwin hired a Wesleyan minister named Reverend George Dyson to serve as Adelaide's private tutor. What followed was extraordinary. Edwin Bartlett actively encouraged Dyson to court his wife. He arranged for them to be alone together. He told friends that when he died, he expected Dyson to marry Adelaide. Dyson began writing Adelaide love letters, with Edwin's full knowledge. The 3 of them spent evenings together, Edwin watching while his wife and his chosen successor grew closer. In September 1885, Edwin altered his will to remove a clause that prevented Adelaide from remarrying after his death. He also named Dyson as executor. These are not the actions of a man who did not know what was happening in his own home. Then, in December 1885, Edwin fell ill. His teeth were rotting. He was being treated by a local doctor named Dr. Leach. He was bedridden for weeks, and it was during this illness that Adelaide asked Dyson to do something that would destroy him at trial. She asked him to buy her chloroform. In Victorian England, purchasing chloroform required signing a poison register, so Dyson visited 4 separate chemist shops, buying small amounts at each, telling each chemist it was for removing stains, combining the bottles and handing Adelaide a 4-ounce bottle without asking what she truly needed it for. Adelaide told her maid she needed it to help Edwin sleep. She told Dyson she needed it to wave in front of Edwin's face if he tried to force unwanted physical attention on her. On New Year's Eve 1885, Adelaide mentioned casually to her landlady that she sometimes gave her husband chloroform sleeping drops. Hours later, Edwin Bartlett was dead. The post-mortem found enough liquid chloroform in Edwin's stomach to kill him. But the medical mystery at the heart of this dark history case was this. Liquid chloroform burns tissue violently on contact. If Edwin had swallowed it, his mouth and throat would show severe burns. There were none. If it had been poured down his throat while he was unconscious, it would have entered his lungs. There was none in his lungs. The chloroform was in his stomach and nowhere else. Science in 1886 could not explain it. Science in 2026 still cannot fully explain it. The murder mystery at the center of this case remains genuinely unsolved. Adelaide Bartlett was arrested in February 1886 and charged with murder. Dyson was charged as an accessory. Her trial opened at the Old Bailey in April 1886. The courtroom was packed every single day. Her defense barrister, Sir Edward Clarke, regarded as the finest advocate in England, argued that Edwin had taken the chloroform himself, voluntarily. Perhaps as a desperate act, perhaps in a moment of strange belief consistent with his eccentric views about health and animal magnetism. The prosecution could not disprove it, because the prosecution could not explain the absence of burns any better than the defense could. On the 17th of April, 1886, the jury acquitted Adelaide Bartlett. Their own statement from the box read, "Although grave suspicion attaches to the prisoner, we do not think there is sufficient evidence to show how or by whom the chloroform was administered." Dyson was discharged. The crowd outside the Old Bailey cheered so loudly, the judge lost control of the courtroom. Sir James Paget, one of England's most eminent surgeons, remarked immediately after the verdict, "Now that she has been acquitted for murder and cannot be tried again, she should tell us, in the interest of science, how she did it." Adelaide Bartlett never answered. She disappeared from public life entirely. Her whereabouts after the trial were never confirmed. What she did with the chloroform, how Edwin came to have it in his stomach without a single burn in his throat, she took that answer with her. The true crime documentary record of the Pimlico poisoning mystery, preserved in Old Bailey proceedings and Victorian newspaper archives, gives us every fact except the one that matters. How did he die? This has been Dark Verdict. Every case is real. Every detail is sourced. Every verdict is final. Subscribe for a new true crime documentary case every week and leave your theory in the comments below, because this time we genuinely do not have one.